Music, yeah. We're right here next to North Beach. That's what we're all about. Welcome back. This is Consumer Talk on KGO. I'm Michael Finney. On the live line right now, we have Adam Rizzieri. He's with Agency Partner Interactive, and he's here to tell us how consumers now want to know what the companies are dealing with. What are their political beliefs? Hey, Adam, thanks a lot for joining us today.
Hey, Michael. Happy Halloween, sir.
So how did this come about, Adam? Is this because of Black Lives Matter? Is this part of pandemic, or it was just the way the world was going? What's up?
You know, I'm going to go with the third option there. This has kind of been coming since the 1980s when we saw the corporate social responsibility movement kind of take place. You know, back at the time in the 80s and then the 90s, there was really a lot more of a focus on really products and processes behind businesses. And now really that focus is really more so about politics than it really ever was. And really we can thank 24-hour news and social media for that. The way information sharing exists today, you know, we're able to share our experiences with our immediate community. And of course, that can kind of spread like wildfire. And ultimately, companies are aware of that. So just kind of what we've seen here with just the new way of the world, this year really does show a more of a demand for brands to align themselves with social concerns. And so really, if you look at last year around this time and now looking at this year, last year, about 20% or so of consumers thought that brands should take a political position. This year, it's about a third of American consumers. So, you know, overall, the majority of people still think that companies should sort of like stay in their lane and be awesome at whatever it is that they do from a product or service perspective. But obviously, as we've sort of seen just this new way of information sharing, you know, more people, more Americans now want to see sort of what the companies are all about. And I think that's because there's been more focus on who the CEOs are and ultimately what the CEO's individual positions are on specific issues.
Now, you know what's interesting? Now, I'm in San Francisco. I get that. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I was raised here in the Bay Area. I am of the Bay Area. Most companies are on the wrong side of our beliefs here in the Bay Area. Not all. I'm not saying that. Certainly not local. But I've got to tell you, I look out across the landscape and think if people are going to start judging companies by their politics, there's a lot of companies in trouble. Am I right?
Fair point. So I think that there's a right way to do this and a wrong way to do it. And to your point, most companies are really bad at doing this the right way. And it's because they ultimately go just a little bit too far. Now, the reality is...
oh, yeah.
You know, yeah. That's just it, right? And the reality is, though, as consumers, we're going to make our purchasing decisions based on whatever is most convenient, whatever is just priced the best, and whatever makes our lives just a little bit easier and solves our problem in that moment. You know, with Amazon and like same day shipping, people are also too with social media. People expect instant gratification. So, despite what companies do from a political perspective, whether it be a left-facing perspective or a right-facing perspective, the most compelling thing is going to ultimately be, is that product or service the right price? But that being said, if all things are equal, the company or the consumer is going to obviously choose to purchase from the company that aligns with their same beliefs. So, and that's just kind of what it is. The thing is, though, like I said, a lot of companies are really bad at this, and really too, it's the CEO specifically that gets on the chopping block when they make a bad decision. And I think really too, people are kind of, because of social media, because of 24-hour news, if a company isn't staying true to whatever their position is on a specific issue, we're going to find out about it, right? There are cameras everywhere, and that's just it. You know, and I look at companies like, you know, obviously Uber has had a lot of issues around, you know, equal pay, right? And sexual issues specific to sexual discrimination and gender discrimination. And we look at Nike, we look at the National Basketball Association. You know, these are companies that right now they take, I think I would say, a strong position on social matters, right? You know, the NBA had Black Lives Matter on their court all season. But at the same time, historically, look at what these companies have done. You have Nike, who literally utilized slave labor from Uyghurs in China. But, you know, in 2018, they hired Kaepernick, and they boosted their company value by like $26 billion in 1 year. So consumers aren't necessarily fully aware of what's going on behind the scenes, and there's either a moral motivation or a money motivation behind what companies are doing. And so as consumers, we have to really be aware of what's true and what's not.
You know, a lot of companies have, this horrible past, and then Black Lives Matter erupts, and all of a sudden they're waving the flag, joining in, and you're like, you don't get to join in. You've acted horrible. It's like, now you're on the wrong side of history, big time, and you're trying to act like you're not. I mean, does that work against companies? I mean, are they better off just going, no, we've discriminated against everybody. We're horrible people, and we'll try to stop? Or
you know what? Yeah. You're onto something, Michael. The thing is in a lot of cases, the companies you'll have sort of an off with his head mentality or off with her head mentality. And when there's an issue that is especially fiery, they will swap out the CEO. They'll change the top level leadership, as we've seen with Uber, for example. And ultimately, they leave it to the CEO to be sort of that change agent, right? But it doesn't always work. In cases where you don't see that happen, Nike, the NBA, they hire a marketer like me or a really fancy advertising agency, and they pump a ton of money into advertising to make sure that whatever the message is that's out there, it's their message. And we saw that with British Petroleum after the oil spill, right? So it's all about controlling the narrative at the end of the day.
So the message isn't necessarily be right. It's just control the message.
Control the message and really just kind of cram it down people's throats. And at the end of the day, people are just going to start to listen to it. And it's crazy, but that's just what it is. And then, ultimately too, as long as your product or service is still high quality and it's priced the right way, people are still going to hail Uber when they need a ride. They're still going to buy Nike shoes when they want to go, get their sweat on, right? So, and that's just kind of the way things have kind of shown themselves to be from a data perspective. Is it right or wrong? That's up for consumers to decide. But that's definitely what we've seen, I think, over here in recent history.
When you look at where millennials are and knowing that they're the future and Gen X, all the young people, should companies be looking at that and understand that's where things are probably going, and it's just easier to get in line now and perhaps do real change rather than just marketing? I mean, would it help them to do that, or does it even matter? It's just marketing, and that's that.
Yeah, so I think a little bit of both. From a marketing perspective, it's about getting your message out there, whatever that message may be. But then if you're really trying to be a leader, if you're really trying to be a company that's doing the right thing and you're going to create value for the world, and by the way, consumers are looking for companies to be making investments, not so much in themselves as sort of a shareholder sense of capitalism, or more of a stakeholder sense of capitalism, in that companies are investing in the communities. They're making hiring decisions to make sure that the leadership of their companies is representative of, I would say, a very diverse group of people. The result from that, you might see maybe an immediate degradation to your bottom line, but the value that you're creating is truly going to create wealth for the business over a longer period of time. So in terms of addressing millennials, and of course the younger ones right behind the millennials, companies are the ones that are kind of leading this effort are now starting to make decisions about who is in my leadership team, and ultimately what are we doing to ensure that as a business, the way that we're fulfilling our customers is truly happening in a way that is representative of 2020 and the years beyond.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it easier to market if you're kind of like in the right place? if you're not Dr. Evil, it's easier to do marketing, right?
Absolutely. It's like, what is it they say over in back with Soviet Russia, right? The nail that sticks out will be pounded down, right? I mean, ultimately suppressing those messages that you don't want people to know about, but it's so hard, right? We have phones that have cameras, and we have social media, and whistleblowers within companies that expose injustices and truths, right? So when you have a big company taking a position, but then not being true to that position, you're going to ultimately have dissent within the ranks, and ultimately you'll have whistleblowers, as we've seen with like Goodyear, for example.
Right. Stuff will just keep coming back to bite you. Okay, now let me ask you this. You're with Agency Partner Interactive, but what is Agency Partner Interactive?
Great question. So we're a full-service digital agency. We serve a small to medium-sized business that's high growth, and ultimately we help them double or triple their revenue within about 18 months, leveraging online channels. So we create an amazing digital experience with a website and a mobile presence, and then we leverage the power of digital marketing to make sure that the value proposition is transferred to the customer, helping really kind of show what the value is. Pay-per-click, SEO, all the internet nerd marketing stuff. That's what we do, and we love it. But because we love it, because that's what we do, we really do understand sort of what companies are doing from a bigger perspective to get messages out there, whether they're truthful or not truthful.
Adam Rizzieri from Agency Partner Interactive. Adam, you were wonderful. Thanks a lot for your time today.
My pleasure, sir. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween to you. When we come back, we're going to look at the Bay Area car shortage. So hang around.
Consumer Talk with Michael Finney on KGO 810.
Have you heard bad things